Beyond words for hiring and interviewing. In previous episodes, we've learned how nonverbal communication plays a key role in an efficient hiring and interviewing process. Because the majority of communication is nonverbal, focusing on words alone in any job interview is the beginning of a poor hiring decision and puts extraordinary limits on the amount of communication exchanged between the interviewer and the applicant. In the legal profession, the importance of nonverbal communication is seen in the process of interviewing witnesses and during jury selection. Notice how Jan Hargrave discusses the role nonverbal communication plays in the courtroom.
You see, I watch people in the courtroom every day, and I watch them raise their right hand, and then I listen as they say, "I promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth." I have gotten to where I watch the way they lift their hand, and I can tell you if they'll tell us the truth or not. This is the very first one. Look how rigid my hand is and look how wide apart the fingers are. When someone is in the courtroom and their hand is this way, this usually says that they are terrified and they will tell us the whole truth. So if ever you have to go just like this. Second one, though, is equally as good. If the hand is up and the fingers are tight together, this says that they will tell us the truth, but we will have to pull it out of them. This is called an analytical honesty. Third is probably the most frightening. Anytime the hand is bent, it usually says that they will try to lie to us. So you may want to check on your neighbors right now. Fourth one is also interesting. For the fourth one, I had 2 fingers together and 2 fingers apart. Think about what I initially said. Whenever fingers are apart, it's a readily type of honesty. And when fingers are tight together, it's an analytical honesty. Therefore, this person would give us both types of responses. And in the last one, I just bent my hand backwards this way. When people tend to bend the hand backwards, it usually says that they will try to bend over backwards to get you to believe them, but will typically be telling you a lie.
In previous episodes, we identified specific body language gestures and what those gestures are likely to reveal about the applicant. Chin level, with attitude. A handshake, with confidence. Eye contact, with intelligence and competence. Open hands, with honesty. Rubbing one's eyebrows, with showing doubt. Touching the nose, with dishonesty. A genuine smile, with sincerity. The eyebrow flash, with recognition. Walking, with energy and enthusiasm. And time, with reliability. In the process of hiring and interviewing potential employees, understanding individual body language gestures and their meaning is very important. Yet, there's much more. Let's explore what is known in the world of nonverbal communication as body language clusters. Just as words are put together to make a complete sentence, a body language cluster is a series of gestures that communicate one complete message. Like this example.
What are 3 things I should know about you?
I'm a hard worker, I'm enthusiastic, and I enjoy working with people.
Let's see that scene again. Notice how the meaning is changed when just a few words are replaced.
What are 3 things I should know about you?
I have no experience in customer service, but I think I might enjoy working with people.
In both examples, the words "enjoy working with people" were the same, but changing the words that precede them changed the entire meaning. In the same manner, body language gestures are like words in a sentence. What came before or even after a particular body language gesture can change the entire message. Therefore, understanding body language clusters and their meaning can help you more accurately interpret what an applicant is communicating. Now, let's explore how this can be used in a job interview.
How does this position fit with your long-term career objectives?
Here, the applicant has made a nonverbal gesture by pushing the chair back, but has kept their fingertips on the manager's desk. Judging this body language gesture alone, without taking the applicant's next series of gestures into consideration, could cause the hiring manager to misinterpret the applicant's behavior. By pushing the chair back, While keeping their fingers on the hiring manager's desk, the applicant could be revealing that they are uncomfortable with the question. Perhaps they have non-verbally pushed themselves away from the question. On the other hand, after pushing the chair back, they may display a series of gestures that demonstrates the applicant wants to think about the question. Keeping their fingertips on the desk has kept them anchored to the interview. Now, let's see what really happens.
How does this position fit with your long-term career objectives?
Well, my major in college was sociology. And in this position, I will certainly be helping people. So, long term, I feel that this is the type of position that I was meant for.
The question had an impact and made them think. Pushing their chair back was their way of evaluating the question for a brief moment before answering. They are not running away from the question as they kept their fingertips on the manager's desk. Next, they recalled an interest in sociology and working with people. This brought a genuine smile to their face. Next, they considered what it was about the job that interested them the most. It was the ability to help people. This caused them to use an open hand gesture, which reveals openness and honesty. Finally, they displayed a gesture of confidence. It's what we call the steeple. Here, they demonstrated confidence that this position does fit within their long-term career goals. By observing the entire cluster of gestures, the pushback and the anchor, the genuine smile, the open hands, and the steeple, the hiring manager was able to correctly evaluate what the applicant was actually communicating. To become more familiar and to better understand body language clusters, let's examine 3 critical areas of employment qualification that a hiring manager would explore in a job interview: adaptability, initiative, and job knowledge. In each of these categories, we'll explore interview questions that a hiring manager would typically ask. Next, we'll examine the answers to the interview questions and identify the cluster of gestures that each applicant displays, and more importantly, what they reveal. So let's get started with the first area of employment qualification: adaptability. Companies cannot grow unless employees are adaptable to change. Adaptability is the power to adapt or adjust to the ever-changing demands of the organization. Adaptable employees seem to go with the flow. They take it one day at a time and will usually have a positive outlook. This type of employee is responsive to the changing needs of the company and their own job requirements. They're likely to make recommendations on how to improve the work process and suggestions on how to improve their work performance. So, instead of listening for this response in a job interview,
I really enjoy being challenged at work.
How can you more accurately identify the job candidate who is flexible and adaptable? That's where nonverbal clusters come in. Let's look at a job interview where the hiring manager is exploring a particular applicant's ability to grow and adapt with an expanding company.
Our company has experienced double-digit growth in the past 2 years, and that growth is expected to continue. Tell me about your previous employment where you had to adapt to a changing work environment.
Before we get to the candidate's answer and their behavior, let's consider a few things. In order to accurately determine an applicant's qualifications, you must have your eyes completely focused on the job candidate. You cannot be distracted or have your eyes focused on anything other than the person you are interviewing. Remember, you're not only listening for words, you must observe their nonverbal gestures to identify how they are likely to perform once they've been hired. After asking the question, you are now ready to observe the candidate's behavior. How does the candidate respond? What is their behavior after the question has been asked? Does the candidate remain comfortable or become uneasy? Do they continue to hold eye contact or do they look away? Let's see that question again and observe the candidate's behavior.
Our company has experienced double-digit growth in the past 2 years, and that growth is expected to continue. Tell me about your previous employment where you had to adapt to a changing work environment.
In the last position I was in, the department I was originally assigned merged with another department. At first it was awkward, but I was able to adjust, and within 2 months, I was promoted to a supervisory position.
How did you feel about this candidate's answer? Were you able to identify the applicant's cluster of gestures? Other than their words, did you get a good feeling that this candidate was receptive to a changing work environment, or a bad feeling? Let's break down this candidate's cluster of gestures to find out. First, after hearing the question, the applicant crossed their legs. By crossing their legs, the applicant understood the importance of the question and wanted to get comfortable while answering. Then, the applicant raised their eyebrows at the point where they mentioned the merging of one department with another. When someone raises their eyebrows, it's a sign of acceptance. By raising their eyebrows, the candidate accepted the change in their previous work environment. Next, the applicant held eye contact when they mentioned.
At first it was awkward, but I was able to adjust.
If someone is uncomfortable, they're less likely to hold or even maintain eye contact. Here, the candidate held eye contact when mentioning that the position became awkward when the departments were merged. Finally, the applicant nodded their head as they told of the adjustment and the benefit of adapting to a changing work environment. After observing this applicant's nonverbal behavior, you should have a good feeling that this person does adapt well to changing work environments. However, when asking a key interview question, your feelings about the applicant's response, good or bad, should be validated. If a job candidate leaves you with a good feeling, but you want to make sure that your feelings are correct, it's wise to ask the candidate another question on the same topic. This will allow you the opportunity to see if their behavior after the second question matches the first question.
You mentioned that your department was merged. Tell me about your challenges and how you dealt with them.
Well, the challenges were many, but the most difficult one was our filing system. When we merged, our filing system was in 2 separate rooms, and it was difficult to finish our work by the end of the day. I asked my supervisor if we could consolidate the filing system into one larger room. It took a few days to move everything, but when it was done, it made my work much easier.
All right. Now that you've seen the second response, how do you feel about this candidate? Do you feel reassured, or do you still have doubts? Let's break down the candidate's response and see what gestures are revealed. First, the candidate lifted their head up to answer the question. When a candidate lifts their head straight up to answer a question, it's a sign of confidence. Confident people will hold their head straight up to face you. The candidate here displayed confidence by holding their head up to face the interviewer and the question. Next, the applicant remained still in their chair. They also remained comfortable and relaxed. Here the candidate was comfortable with the question. When a person is comfortable with the subject, they will remain relatively still while responding to an interview question. This candidate is completely comfortable discussing their experience in a changing work environment. Third, the timing of this candidate's comments and their body language was revealing. The candidate leaned forward as they spoke of the action that was taken to adapt their work conditions. This gesture and its timing reveals much about this candidate and their authentic behavior. This applicant is likely to be an action-oriented employee. Finally, the candidate gave a genuine smile as they reported how their work conditions had improved. When an applicant reveals good feelings about how they adapted successfully to a changing work environment, it is a sign that the candidate is very likely to accept change in the future. If your organization is experiencing rapid growth or conversely is in the process of downsizing, every new hire is a critical hire. Future success will depend upon your employees' ability to manage that change. Now, let's move on to initiative. Every organization needs employees who take the initiative to get their work assignments done. It is this type of employee who consistently exceeds expectations. How can you identify the right candidate who is likely to take the initiative once they've been hired? As seen from the first example, the answer is to observe the applicant's nonverbal behavior immediately after a job interview question has been asked. Let's look at another example. See if you can identify the cluster of gestures that identifies this candidate's authentic behavior.
In your last position, tell me about a time when you saw something that needed to be done and you took action without waiting for direction.
Well, in my previous position, without being asked, I helped an employee finish their work assignments, and from then on, I helped other employees finish their work assignments even though my supervisor didn't ask me to.
Now that you've observed this applicant's response, do you have the confidence that initiative will be taken once they've been hired? Let's observe this applicant's cluster of body language gestures and see what they reveal.
Well, in my previous position, without being asked, I helped an employee finish their work assignments, and from then on, I helped other employees finish their work assignments even though my supervisor didn't ask me to.
Let's review the applicant's response again. First, after the applicant was asked the question, the applicant shifted their body. When someone is uncomfortable with a particular subject, they will break eye contact while shifting and adjusting their body. This type of behavior suggests that the applicant would rather not discuss the ability to take the initiative. Next, they moved their hand in front of their face. When a job candidate moves their hand in front of their face, it's as if they're attempting to block or deflect the words coming out of their mouth. It's a sign that they do not believe what they are saying. They simply lack confidence in what they've just said. The third gesture that the candidate displayed is rubbing the eyebrows. When an applicant rubs their eyebrows, it is likely a sign of doubt. This candidate's body language does not agree with the words they've just spoken. Finally, they displayed a steeple gesture to complete their cluster of gestures. A steeple is a sign of confidence. This applicant is attempting to demonstrate that they're the type of employee who takes the initiative. However, based upon the cluster of gestures we've just seen, this person is not likely to be the type of employee who will take the initiative. When interviewing potential employees and you do not feel confident with their behavior after the question, take the time to ask the applicant another question that pertains to the same subject. Then, observe their nonverbal behavior and see how you feel. If you get the same uneasy or uncomfortable feeling again, this applicant may be holding back information. Now, let's see how the hiring manager asks the applicant a second question. Then let's observe the applicant's response.
Can you recall a situation where you found a better way of doing something that the company adopted?
Yes, our customer delivery system was very slow when I started with the company, and we had a lot of customer complaints. So another employee and I came up with the idea to better organize the customer delivery system. We did this and the complaints declined. When my supervisor learned what I had done, he suggested we make this a standard procedure.
Now how do you feel? Would you hire this applicant? Let's examine their response and what the cluster of gestures reveal. Here the applicant is again asked to recall a time when they took the initiative. This candidate was very uncomfortable with the question and revealed this by shifting their body when it was time to address the question. Next, they made a critical evaluation gesture. When the finger is pointing toward the person's head, it reveals critical evaluation. Here, the applicant is revealing their true feelings. Third, they touched their nose with their left hand. Touching the nose with someone's left hand is likely to reveal deceit. This candidate was not the employee who took the initiative in the first place. They revealed that another employee also took the initiative with them. Then, when the applicant said the supervisor recognized the initiative, the other employee was left out. Finally, when someone crosses their arms, they most likely have taken a defensive position. Except for the example of another employee, they were not able to recite a situation where they had actually taken the initiative to improve a company procedure. This applicant is likely to be critical of the employee who will actually take the initiative. Finally, let's discuss an applicant's response to an interview question regarding job knowledge. Identifying their level of job knowledge and transferable skills in the interview is key to hiring the right person. As seen in the last two interviews, asking the right questions and observing their nonverbal behavior is paramount to selecting the right candidate for the position. Let's examine an interview in progress where our hiring manager is identifying the applicant's level of job knowledge.
In what specific area do you need to expand your knowledge in order to become proficient at this position?
I know that with my experience and the knowledge I've gained with my experience will be a big help in preparing me for the job functions required for the position. However, I do realize this is a very competitive market, and I look forward to learning the new techniques and procedures required to improve my knowledge base as well as to help the company succeed.
Now that you've heard their response, how do you feel? Do you feel comfortable or uncomfortable with this applicant? Let's see their answer again and identify the cluster of gestures and what they reveal. As the hiring manager asked the question, the applicant listened intently and tilted their head. Tilting one's head is a sign of interest. The applicant revealed a high level of interest in the interviewer's question. Next, the applicant's chin level was at a 90-degree angle, and their tone of voice reveals confidence. As we saw in a previous episode, the level of an applicant's chin reveals much about their attitude. This applicant's chin level reveals that they are not afraid to discuss the subject. Their tone of voice demonstrates that they are confident in their knowledge and abilities to perform. Next, they used an open hand gesture. With no apparent arrogance, this applicant is being open and honest about their level of knowledge. This is a critical gesture that should have made an important impact on how you will ultimately feel about this applicant's qualification. Moreover, they also demonstrated the head nod. When a person is nodding their head, it is a gesture that reveals agreement or confirmation. Here they are agreeing that their knowledge must increase due to industry competition. The applicant also leaned forward just as they were discussing specific areas of job knowledge that they would need to learn. Next, they displayed a genuine smile. If an applicant displays a genuine smile, then they are communicating confidence that they do meet the hiring qualifications for the position. Notice how differently you would feel if the applicant did not display a genuine smile, but instead revealed a fake or insincere smile. With a fake smile, you certainly would not have the same level of confidence in the applicant. Now that you have a better understanding of body language clusters, how can you best utilize this newfound knowledge? First, begin to observe an applicant's nonverbal behavior after each interview question. Next, test your initial feelings to their response by asking additional questions on the same topic. Measure the applicant's nonverbal behavior in each of your organization's hiring criteria. For example, on a scale of 1 to 10, rate the applicant with respect to adaptability, initiative, and job knowledge. This can also be expanded by rating the applicant in other areas discussed in previous episodes, such as enthusiasm, confidence, likability, the cues of influence, and the time principle. After you have completed the interview process, combine the applicant's score and make a comparison to all those interviewed. The numbers can be very revealing and will help to ensure a more informed hiring decision. As we've learned, nonverbal communication plays a key role in all human interaction. Since its use in the courtroom is critical, should it not be a major factor in your organization's hiring and interviewing process? After reviewing this entire program, the answer is quite obvious. Nonverbal communication is an important part of an effective hiring decision. By adopting the strategies contained in this program, each and every hire will be a more informed hire. Thank you for joining us in this fascinating journey, as you now have come to understand and appreciate nonverbal communication.